Hello and welcome to what is set to be the last session of your Two Cents podcast for 2024. We hope that you've been having an amazing year and that you've been deriving a lot of value from all of these stories that we've had featured over the last year or so. And I think it has been a great journey. For today is a business that I'm very, very excited about. We are joined by Tumelo Makgaka, who is an entrepreneur and founder of a very interesting company called Leruo. They specialize, I'm just going to call them cow technology specialists. He's going to give us a proper explanation of what's happening in that business. But Tumelo, one of the things where I wanted to begin today's conversation, let's just do the quick elevator pitch on Leruo itself, and then from there we can maybe get into what's happening here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mudiwa. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast. So, quick elevator pitch about Leruo is that we basically develop technology to help cattle farmers both maximize and protect the value of the herds. And in terms of maximizing the value of the herds, we help solve the compliance issues that prevent them from being able to sell to formal markets. So that they can make up to 2 times more revenue. And then with regards to protecting the value of the herds, we develop cattle facial recognition technology to ensure that in the event that the cow is stolen, it cannot be sold illegally at any of our partner auctions.
Now, firstly, cattle facial recognition. I was saying to Tumelo before we started that is one of the best terms that I've heard so far, and I honestly think you need to take that one to the moon and back, because I haven't heard it before. And in the technology realm that we have, it's very it's always cool when you see something that's novel, that's out there, because everyone and their cat is talking about AI, right? But you guys have found a way to bring that camera vision, artificial intelligence together so that you can put an actual ID, on a particular herd cattle, an individual cow, and I think that's really great.
Thanks for that. I think that just comes as a consequence of our strong technology background as a team. We all come from a technical background, but just also the fact that we are all Africans, from mostly from, I'd say, semi-rural environments, and the ones that are from urban environments having parents that had some relation to farming. So essentially, Leruo has been a merging of all of our worlds, and the insights that we gained from technology, we were able to bring to problems that matter in the places that we're from.
Now, I did say to you earlier on, I'm very interested in the business because I grew up in an agricultural, farming town. Over the years, my parents are still there to this day. So, farming, agriculture, very close, to my heart. And cattle ranching was one of the biggest things that was happening in our area. Thousands of cattle, between corporate owners and a lot of your small scale and mid to large farmers in the area. But in terms of the journey, for yourselves and the team that you have, in telling us about the journey, one of the things I'm most keen to find out from you is the place of incubation and accelerators. And I ask that because I've been covering, technology in the startup space for quite some time, and that ecosystem. People have different words for it. They are venture builders, they are accelerators, they are incubators. Obviously, it's a spectrum, and they're all doing something different, but the results seem to be a little bit of a mixed bag. And the people that seem to get the most out of such structures tend to be the people that already have a vision of what they're going into there wanting to get out of it, as opposed to arriving bushy-tailed and wide-eyed. So maybe you could give us your experience around that, because lots of young entrepreneurs are trying to get into these programs.
Just with regards to my perspective on incubators and accelerators, you know what? I'd say honestly, I've got mixed perspectives on them. Hey,
Okay.
it really depends on the specific incubator or accelerator. You know, it depends on whether they've got a unique take on the geographical focus. You know, that's the first thing. You know, and I think that unique take is firstly informed by like the understanding of the macro environment. You know, and what is possible within the macro environment, and then also just around the psychology of the people within that specific geographical environment, you know. Because, say, for example, what's going to make sense in the US is not what's going to make sense in South Africa, you know. And what makes sense in South Africa may not be what makes sense in Nigeria, although they might be a lot closer than South Africa and the US, you know. So I think that accelerators and incubators that have a strong understanding of the environment and what are they aiming to achieve within said environment. Yeah.
So for yourself, in terms of going in there, was it just the one? Because that's another interesting trend, is that some people will be part of, multiple programs or multiple accelerators. How many did you go through? And was it just yourself, or did you also go in with maybe team or co-founders? How did that work?
Yeah, so currently we just wrapped up an incubation with the African Impact Initiative, and we are currently onboarding onto SAP Foundation's program. And for the African Impact Initiative, it was just me, and then with SAB, it will be one of my other co-founders. And my perspective around that, just around multiple incubations, I think that honestly, until a startup has found itself, then I think that it's wise to, it's an intersection between until you found yourself, you need to go to the right incubators, you need to keep going to the right ones, because they might also be separated by stage, like they might be, like, for example, incubators are more focused on like super early stage startups. They might even be at ideation, and I mean, when we started with African Impact Initiative, I'd say we were somewhere in between ideation and implementation, because of the nature of the problem that we're solving. We firstly started solving the scientific problem, which is the cattle facial recognition, but a scientific problem does not make a business.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's where the incubation was helpful, just getting to understand the environment that we're looking to effect change in, and where the opportunity is there, and now we've gotten to a much different place, and this is where I believe that our next stage with SAB Foundation is going to be appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we just take a view back, outside of the incubation, for yourselves as Leruo, as a business, right? Where are you now, right? You said earlier, you sound like you're in the implementation now, but how far have we gone? And more importantly, where are you on the scaling question? Because to your point about the scientific problem, monetization often, when it comes to such models, is going to come through an element of scale. So where are we on that journey?
So where we are on that is that we have gone through the journey of understanding where the white space is for us. Because here's the thing, I think that the nature of any technology company, and when I say technology company, where the leverage is acquired through the use of technology, I think it's one where they figure out how to deliver a product such that it will be such that the people that it's aimed for will want to use it, like as the people of Y Combinator say, make something people want, And very often, if you are developing a category-defining technology, then you basically need to figure out where the white space is, because while the problem might exist, you can understand a problem at a macro level. But when it comes to the actual go-to market, the actual, like people actually adopting your technology into their daily lives, understanding where it's going to fit, that's a whole different story, And I'd say more especially for us within the agricultural sector, where within the agricultural sector, something that I like to say to farmers is that the last technology company to pay attention to them was John Deere with the with the tractors, Yeah. And I mean, for example, I may be wrong, but okay, ear tags were developed decades ago, RFID ear tags. So essentially, just being a category defining business like that, we've had to iterate a number of times to find where the opportunity is for us with regards to the right mix of the right personas adopting it so that we can reach scale. And we basically, so I'd say we spent our first year, 2022, just in R&D, and then we spent 2023 speaking to farmers, just also going through incubation, speaking to farmers, getting to understand the problem, speaking to auction owners, speaking to feedlot owners who are the high volume buyers of cattle, think cat and beef. Yeah, and as we entered into this year, that's when we came to really understand where the white space is for us with regards to the macro level problems, and then started fleshing out our technology because we just built out the cattle facial recognition piece and intentionally didn't build out other pieces of our technology up until we understand how to deliver it in a way in which people within the industry would receive it. So currently where we are, we have currently gotten adoption through what are called, we call them agricultural experts, really, And agricultural experts is essentially an umbrella which encompasses a variety of agri-professionals, be it agricultural advisors, veterinarians, para-veterinarians, animal health technicians, and these are essentially people that provide services to farmers. And we have currently been running a closed pilot with 40 agricultural advisors, and we've just been collecting feedback and iterating on the product because the mistake we're avoiding making is just overdeveloping a solution that's not wanted.
Do you think you found market fit yet?
I think we're getting signs of market fit.
Okay, cool.
I think that we've had to be very humble about what market fit looks like. It's not just people downloading the app once. We need to operate on global standards of what market fit is. And the clearly defined metrics around that. So we follow that very closely.
If I was a consultant to Leruo, one of the first comparisons, or at least parallels, I would draw with the problem that you're trying to face is vehicle telematics. That's one of the first areas I would go to. In South Africa, we've got CarTrack, Mixed Telematics, we've got Netstar, all of these guys that are tracking our vehicles, in real time. Obviously, your technology is different and it's done differently, but that's the first area of of parallel I would go to, and then the second one would be around smart cities, because there are a number of smart cities around the world that can literally know where they are, where someone in a population is at almost almost any given time. You walk through an airport, they know. That you're at the airport, and I guess that would solve one piece of your business. But when it comes to right now, what you're looking at as parallels, that's me wearing my consultant hat. But for you, what parallels are you drawing?
You know what? I'll say this. One thing that we've aimed to do is be very customer driven, and historically historically we've tightly defined ourselves, and that's led to us not shooting at the right problem, you know. So I would just essentially zoom back on what I believe we are, and I'd say we're a business that makes the beef supply chain more efficient, and we're a business that helps farmers make more money, you know. And essentially, like, that's just to make sure that we are constantly directionally correct on that, you know. But insofar as parallels, what I'd say at our current state, and I do agree with the perspective just around the car analogy, you know, the car tracking analogy, and that has to do with the traceability element, I guess, you know. So I would say that right now, our current state is that we are essentially a gig working platform for all of these agri-professionals to be able to provide value to farmers. And then from there, they're also able to help these farmers connect with the broader agricultural industry services providers.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to switch a little bit to the fact that you are even in agriculture, right? Because I don't know how many young people are diving, you know, into agriculture right now, and this is a platform that's meant to be for and to inform the youth, right? So as far as you can see, there's a couple of curiosities. Firstly, I think what you said earlier on about your background and where you grew up, that informs, you know, maybe one of the reasons why. But my curiosity is on two fronts. Firstly, when you engage with people, whether it's the accelerators, potential investors, all of that stuff, do they understand what you're trying to do? Secondly, are there a lot of young people that you are meeting in the agricultural sector?
So I'll answer the second question firstly.
Yeah.
There are a lot of young people, a lot. And I'd say, like, right now, our business is primarily interacting with the youth, you know. And I think really this just has to do with the fact that, like, if you think of rural South Africa, a lot of young people, you know, either grew up with their parents farming, it may be small stock farming, and then they end up going to a technicon or a TVET, you know, and then they study something related to animal production within agriculture. And we've been getting really great reception from that youth. And then, so they've clearly understood what it is that we're doing and why it's valuable. And then when it comes to investors, accelerators, etc., I'd say the African-based ones, have a very clear understanding, you know, of what it is that we're doing. And African and emerging world, you know, I'd say those two have a clear understanding of where the value is, because livestock theft, like, I think that's just the first problem that we tend to speak about, because it's the most understandable problem. So everyone understands the livestock theft problem, just insofar as, like, we're losing 1.4 billion rand annually. Yeah.
That's actually, you know, quite a deep, that's actually quite a deep problem that you're giving there. But sticking to the matter of youth in the sector, where are the youth in the sector? And I ask that because, once again, huge youth unemployment problem in South Africa. And from what you can see, how are the youth being absorbed by agriculture? Are they going the entrepreneurial route? Are people being employed in the sector? What are the dynamics?
In terms of, and my sigh is just, you know, resonating with...
That was a big sigh.
Yeah, it was a big sigh. It's just resonating with the youth unemployment problem within agriculture. You know, I don't have the statistics off the top of my head, but I know we've got a big challenge in terms of absorbing the youth, like, just at a state level within agriculture. So when, like, the last time we surveyed our user base, which mainly consists of young people, you know, one of the main things that came up when we asked them about their career goals was to get a stable job, you know. And to get a stable job, and then some of them to essentially go via the entrepreneurial route. So the positioning that we've now essentially occupied has been one where we are a platform where they're getting the chance to prove themselves and to prove their capabilities, because of the lack of employment opportunities, then they're unable to prove what they've been able to learn from school, and that basically doesn't lead them anywhere, you know. So we essentially have been helping them to be able to demonstrate the skills by providing consulting services to smallholder farmers across South Africa. And then from there, essentially use our platform, number one, as a tool to make money as they're trying to get that next stable job. But secondly, as sort of a CV, you know, where they can demonstrate the fact that, oh, I've done consulting for X, Y, and Z person.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, I'm a young person and I don't know, maybe I've gone to school for agronomy or something like that. And then to maybe cut my teeth or to get my feet wet, I'm like, okay, fine, let me do some consulting, I don't know, in sugar, in maize or something like that. Hi, XYZ farmer, I can help you, around this specific problem. Then I use your platform as a way to either do a study, a piece of research, or whatever it is, and actually, deliver whatever work I'm doing, and then from there I'm gaining some traction.
Precisely. Yeah, but like right now we've primarily got to focus on cattle farmers and also agri-consultants from agri-consultants that have animal production expertise. Yeah, but essentially, yes.
Okay, so everything that I've just said, but mainly for people that are, I guess, around the livestock, type of situation.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Where are the opportunities as far as you can see? Is it once again in the consulting space, like the example that you've just given us? Is it in creating the platforms or the technologies, either for farmers or consultants and other, agri companies? Is it in, I don't know, creating the next super fertilizer or the next amazing stock feed that's out there? Like how, from what you can see, you've gone into one sector.
Yeah.
But are there any other emerging opportunities that you think young people should be paying attention to in agriculture?
I think that insofar as the entrepreneurial route, the opportunities that young people can take advantage of, yes, number one, it's consulting. But then within consulting, it's essentially using consulting as an opportunity to then connect farmers with everything that they need to increase the value of their operations. So, for example, through our platform, young people can then connect farmers with sales opportunities. Like let's say, for example, we've got high volume buyers that we've got relationships with. Young people can then use our platform to, within the consulting, do record keeping for farmers, and then say to the farmer, hey, there's this opportunity that's around for you to sell your cattle. Are you willing to take it? And then the farmer takes it and the young person makes a commission. Additionally, being able to resell animal health inputs, those opportunities also exist. And also to be able to sell feed, but this all comes from consulting, because a young person can't just walk up to a farmer and just say, hey, I want to sell you X, Y, and Z without firstly having demonstrated value, because the agri-industry is a very trust-driven industry, So I'd say where the opportunity starts is in consulting, because farmers need to see value firstly before they can invest in a relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that helps us, and I like the fact that you're quite practical in giving us a lens into that. Coming back a little bit to where we started today's conversation, around the business and the stage that you're at, revenue wise, are you at that stage where you're making any money at the moment?
So currently, we actually just launched. When was it? It's basically been a month now.
Yeah.
And as we've launched, because of the sales cycles of cattle, like smallholder farmers essentially sell their cows twice a year.
Okay.
And currently it's calving season.
Yeah.
So we are currently helping them to be able to sell first quarter of 2025.
Okay.
Long answer to say, no, we're still pre-revenue, but it's just due to the nature of the industry. Yeah.
So in the coming quarter, you now expect that you will start making money as people get through that first cycle of selling the cattle.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then the other one is just around your entrepreneurial inclination, right? Maybe let's walk back a little bit. I won't say how did you identify the problem, we spoke about that, but rather what made you decide that the entrepreneurial route was the route you were going to take? Because like you said, there's lots of different ways to attack the problems that are in agriculture.
Yeah. I think that it's just by virtue of my parents being entrepreneurs as I grew up, and like, if you think like what I'm doing is unique, just in terms of like I'd say the level of risk I'm taking, I just grew up with my parents taking a lot of risk, They got into entrepreneurship in the late 90s. And at the time, they were the only ones in their families that were entrepreneurs. So that's basically the template that I grew up with, I got to then see them being persistent and eventually being able to reach some form of stability through entrepreneurship. So I grew up with the foundation that you can actually think about something, aim for it, and then accomplish it. That you don't necessarily need someone to allow you to do something.
And your co-founders, where did you guys find each other?
My first co-founder, the first one to join the business, I've been working with him for the past 10 years. And we went to university together. We went to UCT together. Yeah, we were studying computer science together. He actually helped me make my first app. And then my second co-founder, he also went to UCT, but we only met a bit later. I reached out to him once we had a clear understanding of
what's happening.
Exactly, the nature of the business,
Yeah.
And the skills that we needed. Then I reached out to him because he comes from an artificial intelligence background.
All right, cool. So there are three founders in the business.
Yeah.
And you're all primarily coming from a computer sciences background, I guess, informed by the fact of where you grew up, plus the entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Inside there. Your first app, did you sell it?
No, I didn't sell it. You know what? I think the fallacy of programmers making things is just being so focused on technology.
Yeah.
And you get to realize technology, it's important, but it's also not, eh?
Yeah.
Value is important. So that's why this time around, I really aimed to not build anything till I could establish there was value, Yeah.
How were you creating value before 2022?
Before 2022, okay. So after my first app, so essentially the app that I developed, it was an app so that people could order food on campus, instead of like standing in a queue and waiting for your food, you could just order food on campus and then go get your food.
Yeah.
And then after that, I then got an opportunity to do some early work for at the time they were a startup, but a company called YouCook. Yeah.
Oh, I know YouCook. They do packaged meals that can come to your house.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So at the time, I was very interested in the food space. So I was thinking like along those lines. So before I did anything, I wanted to firstly investigate if anyone had done something within that space, just the idea around tailoring your meals to ingredients or recipes or whatever.
Yep.
And I found YouCook, reached out to the founder,
Mm.
and I was interested in developing an app for them.
Mm.
And they then asked me to help them with the core systems.
Mm.
And I did that. And I built a team. We built those core systems for roughly a year.
Mm.
And then after that, I then went into software consultancy. Yeah, I did some software consulting for an ad agency in Joburg.
Mm.
And from there, that's then what leads me to Leruo.
Oh, okay. That's a very interesting journey that has taken you, to the point that you're at. We are, about to land this conversation, and I think where I wanted to land for today is on 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
Firstly, 2024 was a big year around the world in terms of elections. And one of the big messages, whether you're in South Africa or other parts of the world, is this rejection of the status quo. There's been a huge rejection. In South Africa, that's ended up with the government of national unity. In other parts of the world, it's meant that Trump is coming back into power. And we've seen a lot of incumbent leaders, being booted out of power. And a big part is because you have a youth contingent that is just not happy. The youth are finding it hard to make ends meet. They're finding it hard to afford life. So, maybe as a state of 2024 type of thing from yourself, your message to your generation right now, what's your outlook, or how do you think young people should be viewing either the business environment or the economy right now?
I think with regards to the business environment, I believe that technology provides an opportunity to young people that has never existed before. There's there's a popular venture capitalist called Naval, and he calls software permissionless capital, meaning that you don't need anyone's permission to use software, to build software. And I'd say really, as a young person, just growing up, that's what attracted me to software. That's what attracted me to computer science.
Yeah.
The fact that I didn't need to go get a loan to start building software. I didn't need anyone to give me permission to build software. I could just do it. And I would say to young people, the same thing that they've done in music, in the creative arts, young South African people have really showed us amazing things in terms of music and the creative arts. I hope to see them use software to accomplish the same things, because similar to music in the sense that you don't need anyone's permission to make a song, you also don't need anyone's permission to build software. And in terms of what we've been able to see, what software has been able to do for young people in the US, say for example, if you think of your Mark Zuckerbergs, I believe that it's Africa's time in terms of that, and we have the youngest population in the world. So I think where a lot of other opportunities have failed young people, I would encourage them to look at software.
Software.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I love the fact that you mentioned the software and young people and drawing that parallel with what's happening in music and other creative industries, because the second point I was going to ask you is, how do we move South Africa from being a technology consuming country to being a technology creating country? Because as far as I'm concerned, one of the biggest transfers of wealth that the African continent is currently missing out on is around technology, right? And especially a country like South Africa. South Africa is a very high technology consuming country, but its quotient in terms of creating the technologies is quite low. And the real wealth lies with the people that are creating the platform. Zuckerberg is not consuming Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram. You're creating the platform, and therefore the billions of dollars in value flow in that particular direction. So I'm really glad that, you answered it in that way. The only thing I would just, ask as the last point is to say, how do we change that mindset around specifically technology? Because in the creative arts, the mental barrier has been broken.
Yeah,
People know that there's a lot of creativity. If you want to do something, you can make it happen.
yeah.
But in technology, what do you think still needs to happen for us to get more people to just know that this is something that is open to us and something that can be done?
I think in terms of young people understanding that this is something open to us, we need more awareness. So, for example, what you're doing with this podcast, it's amazing, and that's the reason why I wanted to do it, just because it's an opportunity for young people to gain some awareness about what's possible, who are the people that are doing it, and just understanding how similar those people are to you. I remember growing up. I remember when I was in high school, and I studied IT in high school. But before that, a friend of mine, so I was into computers growing up. I remember a friend of mine mentioned that there was an app that you could use to build apps, and we just all laughed at him, not understanding that he was talking about a programming language. So just even the concept of software was foreign to me. But growing up in Mafikeng, I knew more about, like, let's say, for example, music, because that's the home of WHP, Casper,
Yeah.
etc. Then I knew about software. And just even as I started doing IT, I could relate more to WHP than I could relate to Mark Zuckerberg. So that was still an intangible thing that seemed far away, and, a bit of a curiosity, but not really achievable. So I think that more awareness, and that will break that mental barrier in young people's minds to realize that people that have lived very similar lives to them,
Yeah.
are then taking these opportunities and are doing something different.
Yeah, so that's how we land the conversation, and it has been really great. Thank you so much, to Tumelo, for giving us some insight into what's going on in the agricultural space in South Africa, the opportunities that are currently open, to young people in the space, but more broadly, just the vast opportunity that is available, and also the place of technology in addressing some of those issues. Very interesting conversation around the issue of incubation and accelerators earlier on, because lots of people are starting companies, and before anything even happens, they are wanting to get into accelerators and that type of program, but without necessarily knowing what it is that they want to get out of those programs. They just think this is what needs to be done. And I like the fact that, Tumelo was just talking about the fact that firstly, you need to know what you want to get out of it, and also understanding your stage as a business and how it's going to fit, with whatever incubator or accelerator you end up going with, and also making sure that, when you get there, as much as your own agenda, is met. As opposed to just going, with what's happening there. Also interesting to get a sense of the environment that helped to shape, the thinking around a platform like this, solving the problem. He says one of the core problems is cattle theft, but there's so much more that they're looking at, feeding lots, all of this stuff, around cattle, and that whole ecosystem can actually create, a lot of value. And we wait to see how it's going to proceed, especially in the coming quarter, as the actual trading begins, and, you help your first, I'm just going to call it your first cohort, of farmers actually go and help to sell, some of their cattle, and then ending off, talking about the fact that there's a lot of opportunities for young people in the space, and consulting can be used as a conduit for people to firstly gain exposure, secondly prove themselves, and thirdly be trying out some of these tools such as Leruo, and you can use that as a way to take yourself forward. So that's been it for today, and thank you so much to Tumelo for being the last person that we speak to in 2024 and for bestowing so much knowledge on us. I don't know if there's anything you want to add before we let you go for 2024.
Uh, Only thing to add, if you have any cattle or if you know anyone that have cattle, just make sure that they are registered on Home Affairs for Cows, which is Leruo, www.leruo.co. That's it.
All right. So that's been it. Thank you so much to everyone who was listening. And thank you so much. We're in conversation with Tumelo Makgaka. And he is one of the founders of Leruo. And that was his 2 cents.